Hi, and welcome to Feel Good Always. I'm Becky Bradley. We are here today. We're talking about transforming suffering and grief into infinite connection so that we can live a life fully felt. Today, I'm going to be doing a solo podcast where I'm going to be talking about healing through grief using ritual or things that you do every single day to kind of help you live through grief or suffering. So, I want to preface this before I even start talking with there's actually no right or wrong way to do grief. This is really going to be individualized for every single person or how to move through suffering. What works for me might not work for you. But what I want to do is I want to tell you to offer you hope. That is what I'm doing here. I know that when my daughter died, when my daughter Keira, I use the word transition because she transitioned into from her physical body into something else. When she transitioned out of her physical body and into just pure energy, I wanted to die. It was really hard, very hard to live through that. I was definitely living second to second. And I really was looking for anything, even listening to podcasts. Like if I had a 20-minute podcast, that could be something that I could do. That could fill that 20 minutes. If I could go for a walk, that could fill another 20 minutes. I was living minute to minute. I just needed to make it to the end of the day, and I knew I had to do it again, but I tried to stay present. And so today, if anything, if you're suffering, know that it's happening now. It's in this moment. Stay here for it in this moment. Allow yourself to feel it all and know that the way you feel in this moment doesn't necessarily mean you will feel like this forever. Even the good, everything is impermanent. So, with the ritual of what I did and how this isn't like I had a plan, I promise you. I was scouring the internet, the books, anything I could to try to figure out some way to live through this. And the truth is, I just had to live through it. And I continue to have to live through it. There was no fix. Um, but I do think that it is important to have, a list of tools that you could use if you're suffering because the intensity of grief of what I felt with my daughter dying, it is very scary. It is very scary. And so even if this offers somebody hope that that pain will not last forever, that your connection to this person on the other side, it cannot die. And you will, through feeling it all, you'll be able to be very connected, very, very connected to you. You already are, but we have to allow ourselves to feel. And sometimes we just have to get through the next moment, just the next breath. Actually, always, that's all we have to do is be in this moment and live it a second at a time, really. So, again, I'm going to say it again. There's no perfect way to grieve. And it's not, I mean, there's stages of grief, but I didn't hit all the stages. That's just not my truth. So maybe you do. I didn't. It's a spiral and it like spirals around. You could feel fine 1 minute and screaming the next, or screaming 1 minute and laughing the next. It doesn't really make sense. So we will continue to talk about grief on this podcast because that is what I have deep experience in. I do have a lot of experience in suffering, but I have a lot of experience of being fully expanded to the beautiful energy that I live in today, a heaven on earth. And it is possible for all of you. So I'm just going to share my experience with you because that's all I have. So it's not advice. It's not a how-to. This is one person sharing with you how I survived the unimaginable, just the physical way that I survived. I believe I survived because I was being helped by a team of angels, That is the truth. But this is the way that I took my body through the human world. So you will survive, even if it doesn't feel like it right now. You will. one of the most important things is to know that you will survive moment by moment and that it's just the way you feel in this moment. So, one of the things that I do know too is that emotions are energy, just like everything is, and the energy needs to move. And so, what I did initially the first day, this is not like I planned it. I'm just telling you my story. I allowed myself to collapse to the ground. I allowed myself to scream and cry. I didn't hold back the grief and the pain. I let my body release every single freaking piece of what was happening. I almost like could see myself, and I was in shock and catatonic and screaming and crying, but I did that. I broke down. That energy just had to move through me. And I know Keira was with me every single moment, but that didn't take away the deep pain. And as I watched 70 people at my house experiencing it with me and watching a mother's pain, but that happened. And then the next day we just got out and we hiked and hiked and hiked. Carloads of us just went out in nature, and I cried and I cried and I cried, and I couldn't believe that there were still cars on the road. But I went, and I would walk, and I would be like, there's a step. I'm taking another step. I would literally narrate moment by moment every single thing that I was doing. This movement out in nature, even if it was a walk on my street, I needed to be outside. Even though it was December and pouring rain, I put on my rain jacket and we went. I had to be outside and I had to be moving. So that was a big part of the beginning. There wasn't really a lot of ritual in the sense of like things that I had no idea what I was doing next. I literally had no idea of how I was going to survive, but I did it moment by moment. And Keira was sending a ton of signs already, which I shared on other podcasts, but she was sending a ton of signs. But I would just have to like narrate my every move. There's a rock, there's a tree. And I would feel a little better after moving. So I might feel really bad in that moment, but just moving, I would come and I would feel better. So nature essentially became this spiritual support system for me. I am 100% positive that the river was feeding me, and the squirrels and the trees and the flowers and the rain, all of it was feeding me this beautiful energy. It did not mean it took away the pain, but being out in nature really did help. And another thing that I started doing maybe like 3 or 4 weeks in was I started practicing yoga again, which I've been practicing yoga for many years. So I went back in, and I did have to be around people, which was very hard. People were a trigger for me. People that were alive, trigger. You're alive, trigger. You're eating food. Well, Kira's not eating food, trigger. So everything triggered me. But I did definitely hear a voice that said time to go to yoga. And I feel like that was my higher self. And Keira really encouraged me to get to yoga. So I would go, I'd lay there, want to die, but I would practice because I had been practicing. And so I just got right back in it. So, maybe if you do something that moves your body, just try to get back into it. What my husband rides bikes, and you feel better after the energy moves. And in yoga, I would go and listen into the music. I got a lot of downloads in yogas, but and it was hard, really hard. I mean, everything was hard. Everything was hard, but something would lift after class. So eventually, after time, I was able to come back to my morning ritual, which I've had for a very long time, which is most people have this. I hope you have this, not just waking up and going, at least a few minutes to yourself. But what that looked like for me, for years, it might look like waking up praying. I always pray. I would get on my knees and pray and be like, God, please help me, 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 help me survive. Please help me survive. Like this desperation prayer, like, please help me survive. And so I would pray And then I would make a glass of water and then make some coffee and then go sit outside every morning. That was the start. Prayer, water, coffee. Actually, I probably couldn't drink coffee in the beginning, and I would sit outside and I would take my shoes off and put my feet in the grass and let the sun hit my face. I think I got this. This message was sent to me, I'm sure, from Keira, helping me. Like everything that I was doing was being sent to me. Andrew Huberman talks about like having your eyes in the sunset, or like the sun in your eyes the first 10 minutes of waking up. So whether that's true or not, it worked to give me something to do for 10 minutes. So I'd just like sit there with the sun on my face, feet in the ground. And then so you've got like this ritual. I do this, I do the water, the coffee, I go sit outside, feet in the ground, 10 minutes. And then I would walk over to another spot and sit, and then I would start journaling and I would write. And even in my journaling, there's ritual in there. I would I would write prayers to God. I would write to Keira, and then I would write about my day. Okay, so now I'm like an hour into the day. I've survived for an hour. So I believe that these rituals kind of like took up time to help. And then I would go sit in meditation for like 30 minutes. I never meditated so much in my life. But the meditation after the journaling, the meditation would be really good because I had started doing this Buddhist meditation. I'd meditated for a lot, but you can always start now. Like if you haven't, it's literally, there's so much information out there. Keira dying took my meditation practice to completely consistent. I had probably meditated over the years 1,000 times, but I've been pretty consistent since. I had no choice. I meditate every single morning, and still, it's part of my ritual and my routine. I don't miss it. So I would sit in meditation for about 30 minutes, like anything to pass the time, and I would feel and cry, and literally my heart, I felt like I was feeling my physical body walk through this grief, this really horrible grief. Another part of my ritual was like walking outside, watering the plants. And just like when I did those hikes, I would narrate. I would say, I'm walking to the water. Now I'm putting the water in here. Now I'm walking to water the plants. And now I'm walking to the other plant. Now I'm pouring the water in. I mean, because I was coming so into the present moment, it was the only thing that I could do was be in the present moment. Because otherwise, that walk to water my plants might look like my heart is broken. I will die. I can't live without her. I can't believe this is happening. I hate my life. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. What about when she doesn't graduate high school and all of her friends do? I mean, that also happened. My mind did that over and over and over and over again. But I did have the ability to bring it back to this moment, to bring it back and say, because I couldn't, it was tearing me apart. The thoughts were making the energy, were attaching to the energy and building these thoughts of really deep, deep pain. And I was in enough pain. I didn't need to add my thoughts to it. And so I would stop myself trying to narrate and be in that present moment. So far you have, sitting outside, feet in the grass. I have journaling, prayer, meditation. I would read, certain things at the time in early grief. I read a ton of books about other people that had walked through this kind of grief and survived. I had to see that people had survived. It didn't seem possible. I mean, even if you're listening right now, it is possible. I would listen to podcasts and stories. I don't need to do that today because I am my own example of survival. And so these things that I did, they were my lifelines. They gave my grief like somewhere to go. They held my body in the chaos. It gave me a list, it didn't mean that I didn't feel immense pain. It didn't mean that I didn't want to die, but it gave me a way to feel my way through it. I did not go back to work. I mean, I know some people don't have that choice. I was able to go on disability. There's no way I could work. There is no way. I was not well. I could not work. So I couldn't even answer an email. I don't think I looked at my mail for months. I needed help with everything. I couldn't grocery shop. I couldn't water my plants. So what I could do was these ritual things, and everything that I was doing was helping process the pain and sitting present in what was happening. People wanted me to go back to work or wanted me to get back to Becky Bradley. I'm not saying everybody, but it would have made everybody else feel better if Becky didn't want to die. Okay? I mean, it would have, and I get that. And I'm sure I scared a lot of people, but this is just the truth of what happened. I had to feel every freaking moment of my experience so that I could see the truth that separation is an illusion. So I have these rituals that I did. And every single thing that I was doing was about being in the present moment, and it was about experiencing fully this experience. So feet in the grass, sun on the face, hiking, drinking water, watering the plants, meditation, reading books. My entire life was a grief world. I remember telling I was working with a grief coach, Emily Graham. She was on the podcast this week. She was amazing. Even just her, she has so many tools on her website. She was a lifeline for me, of things that this doesn't mean that we find something else to do to take our mind off. It was not possible for me to not fully feel this. Another ritual that I built into my this isn't a plan. I didn't plan any of this, you guys. I'm just telling you what happened now that I look back. Somebody recommended Reiki to me, and enough people recommended it to me. The same person. I had 3 different people that didn't know each other that recommended the same person. This is how Keira brought people to me. Once to the 3rd time she was recommended, I was like, okay, I'm listening, because I wasn't before. So when I wasn't listening, the sign got sent again. So Reiki, they were moving the energy. And so what happened is I would go every single week for an hour. And it was the only time during the week that I actually felt any peace. On the week, Kira's service was 6 weeks after she died. And that week I did Reiki twice, because besides that first week first couple of weeks, the week of her service, absolutely just, how do you live through that? I just still can't even believe that I was asked to live. I was put in this position to have to live through that. So the Reiki helped me make it through the next moment, because it was moving the energy. She was moving the energy and feeding me higher vibrational, clear energy so that I could feel better. And I felt a profound peace from that. That was the beginning of Keira showing me that it was all energy. And it became a weekly anchor, and I don't need it anymore. I don't need Reiki. I don't. I live in this pure energy. But I did need it at the time. And some people do need Reiki. I don't, not in this moment. Another thing that I did, it wasn't really a ritual that I did every day, but it was part of a monthly ritual or a weekly ritual, is that I went to sound baths at the local studios. There's so many of them. And I would go lay in their sound bath and just lay there. It gave me something to do, and it kind of helped calm my body down. So these are just passive practices where my only job was to feel and to receive. And so I would find, okay, another thing that I did, this is really important. If I did something one week that I felt good doing, like Reiki, I would add it to the schedule the next week. Or if I went on a hike with somebody and I really enjoyed being with them, I have one of my friends, Jamie, her and I met for coffee, I don't know, a couple months in. And she tells me that she started to see the lights come back on. So whatever it was about her, I left there feeling pretty good, better. So I put her on my schedule again and I said, can we meet again? So of course she was just so wonderful, and she continues to be, and we just continue to show up for each other. So 2 weeks later we met again, and we did this over and over. So I would put her on my schedule and I'd just be like, okay, I know that I could count on an hour and a half with her. And I would just fill my schedule with things that actually felt good, or that I'd feel a little bit better. And so I was giving myself permission to feel it all, not to fix it. And there was just so many things. Other things that my family did was make friendship bracelets. My house filled up with people that were making friendship bracelets. Everybody around me was playing chess. We were playing crossword puzzles, word searches. Oh yeah, I was doing word searches. Oh my gosh, so desperate. We, as a family, would go out and shop for plants. Green Acres, that's a local nursery here. I don't know, like seriously, if you're grieving or suffering, go to a nursery. Like, just walk around. I was like, wow, I feel okay, which was strange. There's so many things that you could do. I'd love if you comment, if you're on YouTube, comment, or if you're on Spotify, on ways that you've moved your grief, or send me a message. I mean, seriously, I know that there's so many ways to do this. Grief is emotional, but it's also really physical. So we have to move it. And these rituals that we do, they are done through our human body, and they help bring us back to earth. So you don't have to do exactly what I did. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just giving you an example for hope. And ritual doesn't have to be rigid, and it doesn't have to be fancy. It could literally be, taking your dogs for a walk, which is actually very fancy. What really matters is that it supports you in surviving 1 minute at a time, and that you feel the connection to yourself, to nature, to spirit, to your loved ones, that will deepen over time. And so ritual and connection can look like anything that supports you surviving 1 moment at a time. And you get to decide what that ritual includes. So these were just examples that help me survive. And I promise you this, if you are in the depths right now, you will survive. And one day through that survival, you will be opened up to a connection, a presence, and a peace in ways that you never imagined. I hope you believe my words, because they are more true than anything has ever been true. If you are listening to this, there's a reason. I was sent to you. I was sent to you for you to hear this. So thank you for listening. I appreciate you. We all do this work together. Till next time.